गुरुरेव गतिः गुरुमेव भजे गुरुणैव सहास्मि नमो गुरवे न गुरोः परमं शिशुरस्मि गुरोर्मतिरस्ति गुरौ मम पाहि गुरो. Ram Ram Ram. So, since two classes we have been going through Raghuvamsham of Kalidasa, and today we will continue. So, till now we have reached this point where we have completed Shashtama Sarga, that is the sixth Sarga we have completed. So, till this point of time, we have discussed the story of Dilipa, we have discussed the story of Raghu, and in the discussion of the story of Aja, who is the son of Raghu, we have come to a point where the Swayamvara of Indumati has concluded with Indumati deciding to marry Aja. So now we'll start with the seventh Sarga. So, how is this couple in the previous Sarga itself? People were telling that it's as if Rati and Manmata have united once again. So, similarly, once they have already decided, so once Indumati has decided to marry Aja, so people start speaking that the couple looks like Skanda and Devasena. So, when they enter the city, the people who look at them, they feel that it's as if the couple Kartikeya or Skanda and Devasena have come together. This couple looks like that. And of course, even in Kumar Sambhava, when I was discussing Kumar Sambhava, if you remember, when Shiva and Parvati, they enter the city. So when Shiva enters the city and to marry Parvati, how the people reacted, the humorous aspect that Kalidasa brought in, if you remember, you'll understand it. There was one lady who was, getting her hair tied, but, when she realized that Shiva is coming, she left her hair like that and she came to the window to see. There's one more lady who's wearing a kajal, who has just finished applying kajal to one eye, but the other eye is still, like that, and she comes running. Then another lady, she's applying alta to her hands, and she, runs and comes. And there is another lady who is wearing her dress, and it's not even tied properly, but she's running, and it starts falling off. So she holds the dress in her hand. So all this happens. The similar description Kalidasa has given here as well. So when the people of this place Vidarbha, they hear that Indumati and his her probable husband Aja, they are entering, so they all do the same thing. So Kalidasa has used the same instances wherein the same alta, the same hair being tied, the hair, same kajal incident, all that he has used to describe how eager the people of this city were to see to what type of a hero or to what type of a prince did Indumati give her hand to. So to see this, they all were eager and they do all these things similar to Kumara Samava itself. Now, after seeing, so when they've all come and they're seeing the couple come in. So once they see this, how they react, Kalidas has beautifully told that. So they tell that it is as though Lakshmi has chosen Narayana. Similarly, Indumati has chosen a very beautiful husband called Aja. And of course, if it was not a Swayamvara, so let us say, so Swayamvara is where the princess or the bride has the option to choose anyone of the people who have assembled. But if you take the example of Draupadi Swayamvara or Sita Swayamvara, there is a condition that, for example, in Draupadi Swayamvara, there was a Matsya Bheda. So anyone who could shoot the eye of the fish will marry Draupadi, or anyone who could string the Shivadhanas and shoot an arrow from it will be given to Sita. So all these conditions were there. But here it was solely the decision of Indumati itself. So the people will think that it's good that the king Bhoja conducted a Swayamvara without any condition, because only because of that could Indumati get such a handsome and beautiful husband like Aja. Also, they tell that Brahma has created two beautiful people. One is Aja and one is Indumati. And if they had not met each other and had not decided to marry, then the creation of Brahma itself would be futile. It would have been a waste if these two beautiful people wouldn't have decided to marry each other. And again, they they again tell that they look like Rati and Manmatha. So once the bride and bridegroom have entered into the palace, the bride is given a lot of gifts, jewels, and there is a particular sweet. Madhuparka is the sweet that is fed to the bridegroom when he comes into the bride's house. So that is a common custom that was there previously. So he's even given the sweet, and he's also given silk garments to wear. After all this is done, the marriage again. Kalidasa goes into the details of all the marriage. For example, how the Laja Homa is performed, how the Arundhati Nakshatra Darshana is performed. So if you read Kumar Sambhava as well as Raghuvamsha, the description of marriage is very close, and it tells us about what the rituals were at that point of time in India. So after the complete marriage is done, there again, so they start. So once the marriage is done, so they start going towards the kingdom of Raghu. So Raghu, who's waiting eagerly at his kingdom. So Aja and Indumati start going. But it is a custom that any relative from the bride's side should accompany the couple for 3 days. So that was a custom that has existed, because probably the reason was at that point of time, usually the bride never knew the bridegroom. So he was like a stranger. So immediately after marriage, if she was taken away from her family, then it would be a little bit difficult for her to cope up. So any of the relatives, it could be her father, her mother, anyone. But in this case, since she has a brother, Bhoja, so he accompanies them for 3 days. And of course, the travel from Vidarbha to the Kosala itself was a very long journey. So the 3 days ended in the middle of the journey itself. So after 3 days, Bhoja goes back to his kingdom, and Indumati and Risha continue. But what would have happened is, so in the Swayamvara, there were so many suitors who had, so many people, kings, princes who had assembled. But among all of them, Indumati rejected some. She did not even look at some. And among all of them, she chose Aja. So all the other princes and kings, they were very jealous that Indumati chose Aja. So they all came together and decided that they should kill Aja and not let him take Indumati. So that was the decision that they had made. And when they left, so after the Swayamvara, all these princes, they had taken leave. So they didn't stay for the marriage because they were all jealous. So they had taken leave, but they had all gathered and planned to kill Aja on his way back to his kingdom. So they all assemble, and a war. So once they assemble, a war starts. So Aja, what he does is he first secures Indumati. So he sends a separate set of army for the protection of Indumati, and he gets into the war. And the amount of people who had gathered to battle was so much that the dust raised by the chariots was covering. So it was there was so much of dust that the people could not even look at each other. So in a battle, you should know that there are two parties. So one is your enemy and one is your own army. So you should always know whom you're fighting against. So if you are shooting an arrow, you should know if the person whom you're shooting is your enemy or if he's your ally. But the dust was so dense that the people could not even identify if whom they were shooting was, whom they were fighting with was an enemy or an ally. So Kalidasa beautifully tells that the only way that they could identify if the person they're fighting is an enemy or not was, so if there are elephants coming, the elephants had a bell. So each identifying the sound of the bell, they identified if that elephant was their own army's elephant or an enemy's army. And based on the weapons, so every weapon at that point of time, it is told, had the lanchana or some symbol of a particular king. So based on the arrows that are being shot at them, they looked at the symbol and decided whether an enemy is shooting them or whether an ally is shooting them. And if, let us say there are foot soldiers who are fighting, then each army will have their own war calls. For example, Hara Hara Mahadev or Jai Shambho, something they'll have. So based on these war calls itself, these people decided if they were fighting against an enemy or they were fighting against themselves. So dense was the dust that they could not even see each other. So the battle is a very, if you read the actual Raghuvamsham, it's given in elaborate. So how, the bloodshed was happening, how many kings were being killed, how are they being killed, etc. I won't go into the details, but even in such a critical, state of the story, Kalidasa tells two beautiful, funny, he brings humor in two incidents. So first thing what happens is, so a person, he has been beheaded. So when enemy has come and he has cut off the head of a person. And even before that head could fall on the ground, he has attained Swarga. So it is told that if any warrior dies in battle, he attains Swarga. That is a common notion. So here Kalidasa is telling that some enemy has cut the head of another person. And even before that head could fall on the ground, the chariot from Swarga has come to pick him up. And he is sitting in his chariot. And after sitting also, he's seeing that the head is still falling. So the chariot has come from Swarga. The soul has departed from the body and it has already gone and sat on the chariot ready to go to Swarga, and still the head is falling. And he stays there and sees how that headless body starts dancing around in the battlefield. So this humorous act is also shown by Kalidasa. And another beautiful way he describes is there are two people, they're enemies. So there are two enemies who are fighting. So what happens is they kill each other at the same time. They die at the exact same time. They go to Swarga at the same time. They fall in love with the same Apsara at the same time. So they continue fighting there also. So Kalidasa tells that the fight that began when they were mortals, when they're humans, continued when they even became immortals. So beautifully, this funny incident Kalidasa mentions. So what happens is this Kalidasa beautifully gives this details, and of course he again continues telling that there's a lot of bloodshed happening, warriors on either side, on Aja's army as well as on the enemy's army. There is a lot of death that is happening. So the war continues for a long time, and when Aja decides that this war has gone for a very long time and it's not ending soon, that time he remembers that he of course he does not remember. He would have kept it for himself, so he wouldn't have want to use it in every situation. But he remembers that Samohanastra given by the Gandharva Priyambada. So he uses that astra, and as told by Gandharva, there was no further bloodshed, there was no further cruelty that was there. Everyone of the enemy's side, they fell unconscious or they went into sleep, and at that point of time, Aja was victorious. And it is even told by Kalidasa that even in if you see Virata Parva, at the end of the Virata Parva, when Arjuna fights with all the Karna, Duryodhana, Bhishma, etc., after he has won, he asks Uttara Kumara to get the garments or the clothes being worn by these warriors, because if you have that, it is a symbol that you are victorious, and it's humiliation to the losing army. Similarly, here also, Aja makes his soldiers write this on the flags of all the enemies. So he writes it. So I, Aja, have won over you, and being a kind king, I have not taken your life, but I've only taken your victory. So he writes this statement on the flags of these enemies, and he departs. So by the time Aja comes back to his kingdom, Raghu has already been told about the valorous battle that has happened. And as is the culture of Ikshvaku Vamsha or Raghu Vamsha. So once their son or the successor is capable enough, the previous king, he gives the kingdom and he leaves. So similar way, even Aja, seeing that Aja is capable, Raghu puts the kingdom in the hands of Aja, and he has taken Vanaprastha. So this is the Sarga number 7. So this is the 7th Sarga. So as I've told you, there are 3 incidents in the life of Aja. First one was Swayamvara, second one was his battle. The third one is described in the Ashtama Sarga, 8th Sarga. So in 8th Sarga, Aja is now the king of Kosala, or the place where he is ruling. And Raghu, now that he has taken Vanaprastha, now he has decided. So now I have ruled very well. I have a very good son who is ruling very well. So my job is done. So he decides, as is the custom of Ikshvaku Vamsha, he decides to go to the forest and attain the higher worlds there. But Aja is very fond of his father, and Aja tells her, please don't go, please you stay here. So finally Raghu, when he was pleaded so much by Aja, he tells, okay, fine, I will stay here, but he tells a condition that I will not look after any state affairs. You should rule the kingdom on your own. And further, I will not stay inside the kingdom. I will stay outside the kingdom. And when Aja accepted, outside the kingdom, he built a very nice hut and started living there as a sannyasi. So that is what Raghu's current situation is. Now, at this point of time, once Raghu has gone out of his kingdom and he is ruling very well, it is told that Kalidasa beautifully tells, inside the kingdom is one great ruler of Ikshvaku Vamsha, and outside the kingdom is another great Ikshvaku ruler. But what is the difference between them? One is trying to win the world outside him, so that is Aja. So Aja is trying to be victorious. So he wants to win over all the land. So one person is trying to win over the world outside, whereas the other is trying to win the world inside. That is Atma. So one is trying to win Atma and attain the higher worlds, whereas the other person, as a king, is trying to win over the lands and become victorious. So beautifully Kalidasa mentions this. And after a long time, so after having done practiced yoga for a long time and having mastered all the gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva guna, Raghu feels that he has attained enough amount of knowledge and punya, and because of this punya, he leaves this material body and ascends to a higher world. So that concludes Raghu's life, and Aja performs the final rites, and again, though he is grieved, he continues to rule the kingdom very well. Later, Indumati begets a child, and beautifully Kalidasa mentions that the Dasharashmi Shatopamudyitum Yashasa Dikshu Dashaswapi Shrutam Dashapurvaratham Yamakhyaya Dashakanthari Gurum Viduhu Buddhaha. So Buddhaha, the knowledgeable people, they named him Dashapurvaratham. They named him Dasha, which is the prefix to the word Ratha. So the name Dasharatha, he beautifully tells that they named him Ratha with a prefix called Dasha, that is Dasharatha. But why was he named Dasharatha? Because Yashasa Dikshu Dashaswapi Shrutam, that a child whose yashas or glory or fame was spread in all the 10 directions, that type of Dasharatha was named that type of a child was named Dasharatha. Further, Dashakanthari Gurum. Who is Dashakantha? Dashakantha is Ravana. Dashakantha Ari, the enemy of Dashakantha, is Rama. So Dashakanthari is Rama. Dashakanthari Guru. So Guru, the word signifies both teacher and father, as well as it also describes any elderly person. So that person who shall be the father of the enemy of Ravana. That is, the person who shall be the father of Rama. Hence, that person was also named Dasharatha. So Dasharatha, he was named because his fame was spread in all the 10 directions, and he shall be the father of the person who will be the enemy of Ravana. Dashakantari Gurum Vidur Budhaha. So in this way, the child which was born by the grace of Indumati was named Dasharatha. So at this point of time, Dasharatha, the Aja is ruling very well, and Dasharatha is still a small kid. But he's, of course, as told, as at a young age he started learning all the Shastras, Vedas, and learning archery, warfare, etc. At one point of time, when the kingdom is all in a very good state, Aja and Indumati are roaming around in their garden. And at that time, Narada is flying in the sky. So he's going towards Gokarna. So Shiva, at that point of time, has is residing in Gokarna. So Shiva, in order to see Shiva, Narada is going there, and he's on the way. He's singing, the songs of Shiva, and he's playing his veena called Mahati. So Mahati is the name of Narada's veena. So he's playing on his veena, and he's going towards Gokarna to see Shiva. But what happens is Mahati is a very divine veena. So to whenever you play any instrument, you do a puja for that instrument, and you garland it with flowers. So similarly, since Mahati was also such a divine veena, so Narada had put a garland of Parijata flowers. That is a celestial, or the flowers of Swarga is called Parijata. So you put a garland of Parijata flowers around this veena Mahati. And what happens is Vayu. So Vayu Deva, he sees this beautiful garland of Parijata, and he's so mesmerized by this beauty of Parijata that he feels that, okay, even I should wear this garland. So we know that Vayu does not have any human form, but still the beauty of Parijata was such that even Vayu was mesmerized, or he was attracted to the beauty of the Parijata, and he decided that I should wear this. So how will Vayu wear? By blowing it away. So blowing away of the Parijata garland was an indication that Vayu was decorating himself with Parijata. So in that way, Vayu blew away the garland of Parijata. But after some time, what happened is that Parijata garland, the flower, the Parijata garland, it fell on the ground on Indumati. But once it fell on Indumati, for a moment, Indumati saw that garland, and then she falls down. Seeing Indumati fall down, even Aja falls down. Later, the servants, they come and they sprinkle water on both of them. Aja regains his consciousness, but Indumati does not. So Indumati has left this world. And this part, Sarga number 8, is called Aja Vilapa. So we know that Kalidasa is a Shringara Kavi. He is known for his Shringara Rasa. But reading Aja Vilapa as well as Rati Vilapa, you can also understand that he is an expert in Karunya Rasa as well. And Aja Vilapa is considered to be one of the most beautiful parts of any grantha that explains Karunya Rasa. Rati Vilapa also we have seen, but Aja Vilapa is considered to be even greater. So I will take some shlokas, around 4 or 5 shlokas from Aja Vilapa, and I will explain it to you. So Aja Vilapa, on the death of Indumati. So Indumati and Aja, they are very close, and Aja loves Indumati a lot. So when Indumati dies, Indumati has expired, Aja puts out his grief, and that grief-filled story is called Aja Vilapa. Vilalapasa bashpagad gadam sahajamapyapahaya dhiratam abhitaptamayopi mardavam bhajate kaiva katha sharirishu. So that Aja, Vilalapa, he grieved. How did he grieve? Sahajamapi dhiratam apahaya. So every person has some basic amount of courage and strength. And Aja being the king, he'll have even more strength, and he'll have more controlling capacity. But even that Aja, having let go, Dhiratam apahaya, having let go of even the basic courage, Vilalapa, he started weeping. And Kalidasa gives a beautiful example that Abhitaptam ayopi, aya is iron. So when we know that iron is a very strong metal, but Abhitaptam, when that iron is heated, even when that iron can become soft, so iron which is such a strong metal, if that can also become soft on heating, Kaiva katha sharirishu, then what is the situation of humans, sharirishu, the people with mortal bodies? So when iron can become soft, then what is the situation with bodies or human beings? Kusumanyapi gatra sangamat prabhavati ayurapohitum yadi na bhavishyati hanta sadhanam kimivanyati praharishyato vidhehe. So now Vajja is telling that Kusumanyapi gatra sangamat, if a collection of flowers, that's nothing but a garland. So if a garland, ayuhu apohitum yadi prabhavati, if a garland can take away the life of a person, Praharishyato vidhe, for the person who is taking this life. So vidhi in this case is fate, or it can be yama, or it even can be brahma. So any person who has decided your end is called vidhi. So if a garland can become the source of death, then for that type of yama who is taking away life, what else cannot be a means of taking life? So we know that at that point of time, people died because of disease or in war when, they were struck with sword or, some arrow or something. They were all hard things. So, arrow is made out of iron, sword is also made out of iron. So when those things hit, yes, you can understand that death can occur. But when a thing like a garland falling can take life, then what else can Yama not use to take life? Beautifully Kalidasa tells. And Athava mrudu vastu himsitum mrudunai varabhate prajantakaha himaseka vipattiratre nalini purva nidarshanam mata. Ajay is telling that, or probably Prajantaka, that is the person who takes the life, that is Yama, Prajantakaha mrudu vastu himsitum, in order to torture mrudu vastu, a soft thing, mrudunaiva arabhate, probably Yama has started torturing soft things with other soft objects. Because here he's considering Indumati to be soft, that is delicate. So Indumati was delicate, and Parjata flowers are always delicate. So if one delicate thing can kill another delicate thing, I feel that Yama has started to torture soft things with other soft objects. And he tells that there is an example for this as well. Himaseka vipatiratrame nalini purva nidarshanam mata. Nalini, lotus. So lotus is a very soft, lotus is a very soft flower. And hima, snow is also very soft. But when this hima, one soft object, falls on nalini, this another soft object called lotus, that lotus withers and dies. Because there is another famous Subhashita, Padapanam bhayam vataha, trees are afraid of storms. Padmanam shishiro bhayam, the lotuses are afraid of winter, because in winter there is snowfall, and this snowfall is what causes the death of Nalini or Padma. So Padmanam shishiro bhayam, Parvatanam bhayam vajram, that is the mountains are scared of lightning. Sadhunam durjano bhayam, good people are afraid of bad people. In a similar way, using this as a reference, Kalidasa tells that similar to how a soft thing like snow kills another soft thing like Nalini, that is lotus, similarly, probably Yama has started torturing, has killed my delicate wife called Indumati with the help of another soft thing called Parjata garland. Sragiyam yadi jivitapaha hridaye kim nihata nahanti mam vishamapyamritam kvachid bhavet amritam va vishamishware chaya. Srak is a garland. So Sragiyam yadi jivitapaha, if this garland was capable of taking life, kim nihantina mam, then that garland which also fell on me. So when that garland would have fallen, it would have fallen on Indumati and also on Aja. But Aja is telling that if that garland which fell on Indumati can take her life, then why did that garland that also fell on me not take my life? Then he tells that Vishamapi amritam kvachit bhavet. Visha, poison can become amrita. Amritam va visham, or even amrita can become visha by what? Ishwarechaya, by the desire of the Lord. Poison can become visha, or poison can become amrita, or amrita can become visha. And in this case, the garland killed just Indumati and not me. Athava bhagya viplavat ashanihi kalpita esha vedhasa yat anena tarurna patitaha kshapita tad vitapashrita lata. Beautifully Kalidasa has written that Athava mama bhagya viplavat, or because of my bad fate. Bhagya viplava, bhagya is fate or luck. Bhagya viplavat is bad luck. So probably because of my bad luck, what has happened is vedhasa. So vedhaha, vedhaso, vedhasa. Vedhasa is Brahma. So probably Brahma, because of my bad luck, has created this Ashani. Ashani is lightning. So what is the use of lightning? So whenever there is a lightning strike, the lightning strikes trees and even destroys the trees. But Ajay is telling here that this particular Ashani or lightning created by Brahma is different. It is not like any other lightning, because this lightning, yat anena tarurna patitaha, this lightning did not destroy the tree. But what did it destroy? Kshapita tat vitapashrita lata. But it destroyed the creeper lata that was taking shelter on the tree. So here he's considering himself to be, he's comparing himself to be the tree, because he's a king, he's a kshatriya, so he's a strong person. But Indumati is like the lata. She's a delicate woman, and she was taking the support of Aja. So in such a situation, Brahma has created a lightning in the form of the garland, which did not kill the tree, that is me, but it killed the creeper or the lata that was taking support. That is Indumati. Beautifully he mentions. Then again, similar, if, previously when I explained Rati Vilapa in Kumar Sambhava as well, I mentioned. So, Rati tells that when when the moon goes, the moonlight goes. When the clouds go, the, lightning also accompanies it. But when my husband has died, why haven't I died? So, similarly, even Ajat tells that Shashinam Punareti Sharvari. So he gives the same examples that when the moon goes, even the moonlight goes. But how am I alive when you are dead? So Aja Vilapa actually has a lot more shlokas, but I took these 4-5 because they were very interesting and the description is very beautiful. So at the end of all this, so what happens is Vilavan niti kosaladhipaha karunartha gratitam priyam prati akarot prithvi ruhanapi srutashakha rasa bashpa dushitan. So Vilapan niti, so Kosaladhipaha, the king of Kosala, having hence grieved a lot, Karunaya Grathitam Priyam. That too, why is he grieving? Because of the loss of his wife Priyam. What did this result in? The Karuna Rasa that is displayed by Ajay is so intense that what happened is Prithvi Ruha. So Prithvi Ruha is something that grows from the earth, which is nothing but trees. Padapa, Prithvi Ruha, Vriksha, all of these are Samanarthak padas. So even the Prithvi Ruhas, the trees, what did they do? Srutashakha Rasa Bashpa Dushitan. They started shedding tears in the form of sap, rasa, bashpa rasa. So when you cut the bark of a tree, the sap flows out of it. So Kalidasa has beautifully imagined and compared that sap to be the tears that the trees are shedding. Seeing Aja grieving so much, even the trees around him were so moved that even they started shedding tears in the form of tree sap. Now, finally, after all this has happened, so Aja performs the final rites of his wife, but again he's deep in grief, so he's not worried about his Raja, he's not worried about his son, he's totally engrossed in the thought of Indumati. At that point of time, Vashishta comes to know of this, but he's performing a yaga and he can't come from that yaga for some time. But he has understood that Aja is going through a very rough time. So what he does is he sends one of his disciples with his message, and the disciple's name is called Trinabindu. So, Trinabindu is not this person. So, Sage Vashishta sends one of his disciple, and he sends a message. The first message he sends is, what is the reason for this to happen? Because for something to happen, there should be some previous reason, and that Shishya, that is the disciple of Vasishta, comes and tells that once there was the same sage called Trinabindu. So there was a sage who was performing penance. But Indra, again, as usual, being afraid of this penance being performed by this sage, sends an apsara named Harini. So again, the purpose of sending is to destroy or to stop the Rishi from doing his tapas. So when Harini came, this sage got very angry. So he cursed her that you shall be born on this earth as a mortal. That is, you'll be born as a human being. So that Harini itself was this Indumati. And when this Harini, after the Shapa was given, she pleaded that, okay, sorry, it was not my intention, but Indra sent me, so please, help me. So that time, Trinabindu would have told that Sura Pushpa Darshanat Kshitisparsham. Until the time, Sura Pushpa, until the time you see the Sura Pushpa, that is Parijata flower, Kshitisparsham, you will be Kshitisparsha is touching the ground. So who touched the ground? Devatas are told to always levitate above the ground. So their feet do not touch the ground. So whose feet touch the ground? That is human beings. So Kshitisparsham, you will touch this ground, or you'll continue to be a mortal until what time? Sura Pushpa Darshanat, till the time that you see Parijata flower. Hence, when Parijata flower would have fallen, she'll see that. And only after an instance of seeing that will she die. That is, she would have been relieved from the curse, and she would have again returned back to Swarga as Apsara Harini. So this is the message first sent by Vasishta that, okay, don't worry, this was to happen. So this is the reason for this to happen. So he'll tell this reason first. And further he tells that, so now understand that this was all previously conceived. So it was all decided that this should happen. So don't grieve. Further, for a king, the true wife for a king is earth. So even when we discussed about Dilipa, we told that he considered himself to be married because of only two wives. One was Sudakshina, second one was Rajashri, or the land. So here again Vasishta tells that the true wife of a king is the earth that he rules. And further he tells that do not cry. And beautifully, Kalidasa, you should understand that Kalidasa was not a Prakriti Kavi. He was not just a person well versed in granthas like Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. But he also knew very intricate things about our religion, because he tells here that Swajanashru Kila Atisantatam dahati pretamiti prachakshate. Vasishtha, Kalidasa puts these words through the disciple of Vasishtha that it is told, prachakshate, it is told by great people that swajana shru, the tears of the dear ones. So when someone has died, when the swajana, that is the relatives and the friends and the close ones of that person who has died, shed their tears, swajana shru, that dahati pretam, it burns. So already the preta would have, had some previous papa karma which will be burning it. But shedding tears by the close ones further burns the atma of such a preta. So don't cry is what Vasishtha is telling. And then a very beautiful, so there are several beautiful shlokas in Raghuvamsham, and the next one that I'll tell you is also a very beautiful one, and probably it is one of the favorite ones that I've come across. He tells, Maranam prakritihi sharirinam vikritihi jivita muchyate budhaihi kshanamapi avatisthate shvasan yadi jantuhu nanu labhavanasau. He tells, sharirinam, that is for human beings, for mortals, maranam prakritihi, death is the stable, or it's the constant thing. It is the only thing that is sure. Maranam prakritihi, it is the natural thing. So death is the natural state for any mortal. But vikritihi jivitam, but living or life is uncertain. Even when we read Panchatantra Kathamukam, there Sumati, that minister, would have told that ashashvatoyam jivitavya vishaya, this life is uncertain. That though that was a very basic sentence, but Kalidasa, his panditya is brought out in this shloka where he tells that maranam prakritihi, death is the only stable and the a natural state of a mortal. Vikritihi jivita muchyate budai, even the great minds tell that life is uncertain, or life is the unstable state, because when you're living, you can be rich, you can be poor, you can be happy, you can be sad, you can be successful, you can be unsuccessful. So the state of your life is unsteady, so it keeps on changing. But marana, once death has occurred, that is the constant state, there's no further change. Beautifully Vasishtha has told this through his disciple, that maranam prakritihi sharina vikritihi jivitam uchyate budhaihi. Further he tells that kshanam api avatisthate shvasan yadi, kshanam api, even for a moment, shvasan tishtati, if you are breathing, that is if you are alive even for a second, jantuhu nanu labhavan, so isn't that person who is breathing even for a second lucky? Because he's telling that if you're living, you still have so many things to do. It was fate that Indumati had to die, but there is also a reason that you are continuing to live, because you have more things to be done, and you have to make use of this time very preciously, because this is precious time. Even for a second, if you are alive, that is a very lucky thing for that person. So after having told all this, finally, of course, Aja does not come out of this grief, but he controls that grief, and he continues ruling for 8 years. Why does he continue ruling for 8 years? Firstly, Dasharatha is still young when this incident has occurred, so he's not still capable of ruling the kingdom. Also, the kingdom, if the king becomes weak, the enemies can come and attack. So for 8 years, somehow he controls his grief and nurtures his son Dasharatha and makes him capable enough to rule the kingdom. Once Dasharatha becomes capable, he again entrusts the kingdom to Dasharatha, and he goes. Where does he go? He goes to the Sangama, or the confluence of Ganga and Sarayu. So he goes to that place and leaves this body. And finally, he's brought out of his grief. Of course, by this time, in these 8 years, Aja would have become very weak, very ill, constantly grieving internally. So at this point, once he is given the kingdom to Dasharatha, finally he goes and he leaves this body and frees himself from this grief. So this ends Ashtama Sarga, the 8th Sarga. So the 9th Sarga. Now Dasharatha has been placed on the kingdom. He is ruling very well, and it is told that he is one of the excellent Shasakas. So he has been compared to Yama. So even in Bhagavad Gita, you have among the people, among the enforcers, Yama is the foremost. In Vibhuti Yoga, 10th chapter, even Krishna tells that among the enforcers of law, Yama is the foremost. So here also Kalidasa compares the rule, or the just rule of Dasharatha to that of Yama. So beautifully Kalidasa again tells it, Ubhayameva vadanti manishinaha samaya varshitaya kratakarmanam balanishudana marthapatim chatam shramanudam manudandadharanmayam. So kritakarmanam, so there are hardworking people. So the main hardworking people in any place is the farmers. So kritakarmanam shramanudam, so they're constantly, since they're constantly working, hardworking, they're always exhausted. But under the rule of Dasharatha, there were always two things that were soothing, or they were removing the exhaustion of these kritakarmanam, these hardworking people. One was Samaya Varshitaya, Indra. One was the Indra who gave timely rains. So how is the farmers' efforts fulfilled? When the rain comes and it helps the seed and the plant grow. So for the efforts put in by these hardworking people, there were only two people who were constantly giving them suitable rewards. One was Indra, who gave them timely rains, and second one was Manu Dandadharan Vayam, the next ruler of Manu, or the clan of Manu, who is Dasharatha, who gave them timely wealth and support. So these two people always removed the exhaustion from these hardworking people. That is, they gave very good rewards to the hardworking people. And under his rule, there was no defeat, there was no disease, there was no conquest by any enemies. So his rule was Ekachakradipatya, is what you can call it. Similar to Raghu and Aja, Dasharatha also ruled in all the directions, and the earth flourished under his rule. One more interesting thing Kalidasa mentions here is, so usually kings have any sort of entertainment that they're interested in. For example, Shakuni was interested in Dyuta Krida, Nala was interested in hunting. So similarly, different kings have different interests, but Kalidasa mentions that Dasharatha was not interested in either hunting, nor gambling, nor in wine, Madira, or not in any women. So these four things that were usually common among royal families, Dasharatha was not at all interested in any of these. And further, he won over all the kingdoms till the ocean. So as I've told you, if you are ruling from ocean to ocean, it means that you have covered the entire world. So Dasharatha also won over all the kingdoms, and he is told to have won with just one chariot. Ajayat ekachakra rathena saha. Sorry, ekarathena saha. So he won over all the kingdoms with just one ratha. Ekarathena saha ajayat. Now, after Indra uses, and Kalidasa beautifully mentions, during these conquests, during these Digvijaya Yatras, they're comparing how Dasharatha and Indra they fight. So
Anna, I have a question.
Yeah.
Anna, then how is he called Dasharatha?
Dasharatha is because he could drive his chariot in 10 different directions. It's not because he had 10 chariots. It is because he could drive his chariot effortlessly in all the 10 directions. So you have 4 normal directions: Uttara, Dakshina, Purva, Paschima. And you have other 4 directions: Ishanya, Agneya, Nairitya, and Vayuvya. And the other 2 directions are up and down, Upari, Adha. So these 10 directions, the person who could effortlessly drive his chariot. It's not like he was a charioteer, but his chariot could go in all these 8 directions or 10 directions without any efforts. That person is called Dasharatha. Okay. So it is told that Indra, we know he went on a conquest to cut the wings of all these parvatas, but it is told that for every time that he cut a wing, he has to use a new Vajrayudha. But Dasharatha here, he won over all the kingdoms with just one ratha and just one bow. That is one chapa and one ratha. He won over the entire world. Then Tamalabhanta patim pati devataha shikharinimiva sagaramaapagaha magadha kosala kekaya shasinam duhitaraha ahitaropitam marganam. So beautifully he tells, Kalidasa tells that, similar to how Shikharini, so Shikhara is a mountain or the peak of the mountain. Shikharini, something that is born out of the peak, which is nothing but rivers. So rivers are also called Nadi, Shikharini, all these are similar. So Shikharini, similar to how rivers go in search of Sagara as their husband. Similarly, the daughters, Duhitaraha, daughters of whom? Shasinam, the kings. The kings of which kingdoms? Magadha, Kosala, Kekaya. So the daughters of the kings of these 3 kingdoms, that is Magadha. So Sumitra from Magadha, Kausalya from Kosala Desha, and Kaikeyi from Kekaya Desha. So the daughters of the kings of these 3 provinces went and married Dasharatha, similar to how rivers go and marry the Samudra. Now, he performed several sacrifices and pleased the gods, everything. But it is told that Dasharatha was given the power or the capability to sit among the devatas in Swarga. So previously we have seen Raghu performed 99 yagas to reach Swarga, but Dasharatha's valor and greatness was so high that even he was allowed to sit in the Indra Sabha among the devatas. And it is told that Dasharatha never bowed to any other devatas other than Lord Indra. So only Indra did he salute. To no other gods he bowed, because Kalidasa is indirectly telling that he was equal to the devatas, except that Indra was one step above him. Now, all the the citizens are very happy. The kingdom is stable. The kingdom is safe. Everything is fine. At this point of time, the king has no capability, no duties, because if there was some war going on, yeah, the king had to go and fight. If there was some problems in the city, he had to go and rectify that. But Dasharatha's rule was so great that there was no problem at all. So the king had very less work to do at this point of time. And at that point of time, Vasanta Ritu comes. That's the spring season comes. And of course, Kalidasa being a Prakriti Kavi, he goes in detail explaining the Vasanta Ritu, but I won't go into the detail. So now, always we know, empty mind is a devil's workshop. So Kalidasa also tells that Dasharatha now had nothing else to do. So now, that Dasharatha who was never interested in hunting, wine, on all these gambling and other aspects, now starts taking interest in hunting. So he decides to go on a hunting endeavor. So he decides to go out hunting. Of course, that is, everything is vidhi. Everything has to direct to some point. So even the Dasharatha who was never interested in hunting, because he had nothing else to do, he decided to take up hunting. And Kalidasa explains, of course, the hunting also. It's when I have gone through several stories and several explanations, it is everyone has told that, seeing the description that Kalidasa gives about the hunting, probably he had gone along with some other king and he had experienced how they hunt. So his explanation about hunting is also so good. One of the shloka is very captivating. So it tells that Lakshikritasya harinasya hariprabhavaha prekshya sthitam sahacharim vyavadhaya deham Akaranna krishnamapi kamitaya sadhanvi banam kripam mruduna pratisanjahara. So when he's doing this hunting, at one point of time he spots a deer and he decides to hunt the deer. So what he has done, he has spotted the deer and he has pulled his arrow or the string of the bow till the ear, akarana. So he has pulled it till the ear. It means that it is ready. It is ready to be shot. But at this point of time, what happens is Prekshasthitam sahachirim vyavadhaya deham. So having seen this deer being ready to be attacked or hunted by Dasharatha, Sahachari, the mate or the doe of that deer, what it does is vyavadhaya deham. It comes and obstructs the path of the arrow by putting itself in between the arrow and the deer. So beautifully, Kalidasa is mentioning that Dasharatha wants to shoot the deer, but its mate or the doe comes and stands in the path such that Dasharatha is now shooting the arrow at the doe, not at the deer. So that person, Dasharatha, who has pulled that arrow till the ear, that is, he is, of course, if you have to hold it in position, it takes a lot of effort. So even though he's ready to shoot that arrow, but what he does, kamitaya, not wanting to kill that doe, what he does, panam kripa mruduna pratisanjahara, he let go, like he did not shoot, he removed the arrow from the bow and went ahead. So beautifully, Kalidasa mentions that he did not want to shoot the doe. Hence, when the doe came in the path of the deer, he did not even kill the deer. He just left that and went ahead. So now, after all this has done, so what happens is now Dasharatha, after having done hunting for a few days. Of course, in those days, hunting was not like a one-day endeavor. It was it sometimes used to take some days, sometimes some weeks as well. So here also, Dasharatha, once he starts enjoying hunting, he starts going faster and faster in search of animals, and he gets separated from his army. And it's also told that after being separated, he even sleeps alone in the forest under a tree, and the next day he wakes up and he again starts hunting. So he does not even worry where his ministers and his army is. He continues hunting, and he comes to know that there is a particular type of a deer that comes and drinks water from a sarovara. So there is a sarovara where a particular type of deer is told to come and drink water from the Tamasa lake. So he sits and waits there for the entire day, and in the evening he hears rumbling sound of water, similar to how we fill, when the sound comes when you fill a pot. Similarly, he hears to a sound. What does he think? He thinks that filling of a pot is similar to how an elephant fills the trunk of its, fills its trunk. So he misunderstands that some elephant is trying to fill its tusk or the trunk of its nose. It's trying to fill water. So what he does, he uses his Shabdavedi skills and shoots the arrow at that person, at that elephant. But once he shoots the arrow, a scream of a human being is heard, and he runs in the direction of the sound. And when he goes there, he sees that there is a young boy who was about to fill water, but now he has been shot. And Kalidasa beautifully describes it. He has fallen on the pot, so he's probably filled the pot. And once that arrow has been shot, he was so weak that he fell on the pot, and the pot has broken down. So in that way, Dasharatha has killed, the king. Sorry, he has killed that small boy. Then this was a wrong act, because even when we discuss,
Anna, what is the boy's name?
yeah, I will tell you. So Kalidasa does not reveal it instantaneously. I'll go as per Kalidasa as described. So previously in Aja also, when he was going to Indumati Swayamvara, there was an elephant that came. But then Aja, the Kalidasa mentions a statement: Vanyaha karihi na hanyaha. The wild elephant, or a wild elephant should never be killed. But Dasharatha, who was also well versed in scriptures, was so engrossed in hunting that he forgot that, and he did this wrong mistake. So beautifully, Kalidasa mentions that even the great people are blinded when they're blinded by passion, or when they're blinded by desire, they do the wrong things. And then he screams, "Aha, Tata!" Listening to that, Dasharatha would have gone and seen this kid who'll be lying there in the pool of blood, and he asks him who he was. So the first thing Dasharatha has done is asking who he was. Two reasons: one is to know who is this boy, to know where he's from and all that, and secondly, the reason is to see if this boy is a Brahmana or not, because Brahmana Hatya is actually Mahapapa. So he asks him who he is. So that is the two reasons why he asks who he is. And finally, the boy, he tells that his father is a Vaishya and his mother is a Shudra. So of course, that itself tells that he's not a Brahmana. So Dasharatha is kind of relieved that he did not do a Brahma Hatya. But of course, he has done something wrong, but he's at least satisfied that he didn't do Brahma Hatya. So then the boy tells that my parents are waiting for me on the top of this river, so please take me there. And then they're blind, of course. So Dasharatha takes and takes that boy with the arrow still in him, and he goes to the parents and he tells whatever has happened. So actually, what happens now? Of course, Kalidasa's explanation of Mahabharata of this incident and Valmiki's explanation is a little different. So in Valmiki Ramayana, what happens is Dasharatha brings the parents to where this particular boy has fallen with the arrow. But in this Kalidasa's story, Dasharatha takes the boy to the parents. Of course, nowhere in the entire place has Dasharatha mentioned the name of the boy, but as we know, it's Shravana Kumara. So Shravana Kumara is the boy who has been shot. So once Dasharatha takes the body and takes the boy, he's not yet dead. That takes the boy and he reaches the parents and he tells everything, whatever has happened. Then they're unable to bear. So the boy is struggling in pain. So he's screaming in pain. So unable to bear that sound, the parents tell Dasharatha, okay, so Dasharatha, please remove this arrow and relieve him from this pain. Once Dasharatha pulls out that arrow, that boy dies. Bhumi Pathim Shashapa. It's okay. Finally, so now that the boy has died, now the parents are very sad, because their only source of going anywhere or getting anything was by his son. And once they had lost his son, they were totally in grief. And see, whenever there is a shapa being given, you always need some water to sprinkle for the mantrocharana to happen. But in this case, first of all, they did not have water, for which they sent Shravana Kumara. Secondly, Shravana Kumara, even before he got the water, Dasharatha has killed him. Thirdly, that pot which was also the vessel by which he was getting the water has also broken, because once he shot, Shravana Kumara fell on that pot and broke. So there is no water anywhere for this shapa to be given. But Kalidasa beautifully mentions, you should understand how much of grief Kalidasa can put into a sentence. He tells that Bhumi Patim Shashapa, Bhumipatim Shashapa Hastaihi Patitaihi Nayana Varibhi Eva Vridhaha. That old man, he cursed Shashapa Bhumipatim, he cursed the king. But with what water did he use? Hastarpitaihi Nayana Varibhi. The tears that fell from his eye, that was used to give shapa. That you should understand how beautifully Kalidasa has changed, though the story is different, but how something that of this thought can come into Kalidasa, you should understand. He used the tears that came out of his eyes as the water to give shapa to the Bhumipala, the king. Now, what did he curse? Dishtantamapyasati bhavanapi putra shokat antye vayasya hamiva eti tam uktavantam. So he tells it similar to how dishtantam, similar to this incident, even in your life. Putra shokat antye. So in the end of your life, putra shokat, you will also face the same putra shoka that I am experiencing during the ending times of your son. So during the ending times of your life, you'll experience putra shoka from your sons. But Dasharatha knows he has done a mistake, and Dasharatha has has understood that this is a very harsh curse, but still Kalidasa gives this shloka. Shashapo apyadrishta nayanana padma shobhe sanugraho bhagavata mayi patitoyam krishyam dahannapi khalu kshitimindhanedho bija praroha jananim dvalanah karoti. So he tells that, Bhagavan, O Lord, bhavata dattam shapaha anugraha. So the shapa that you have given me is an anugraha, is a blessing. And what type of a father are you? Adrishta tanaya anana padma shobhe. So you are that father who did not even have the fortune to see your son's face. So since the parents were blind, he's saying that you were unfortunate to not have seen even your son's face, but you have cursed me, and that anugraha, that is a blessing for me. He gives a beautiful example that krishyam dahannapi khalu kshitim iva anuddho. So he's saying that similar to how fire. So if you go towards Punjab, there's a custom that after farming for 1 year, when they have taken the crop, before they start the next crop, what they do is they burn the entire land. So they have some stocks that are remaining after the harvesting is done. So they burn the entire land, because it is told that when you burn this stock, it creates manure that enriches the soil. So he's using the exact same example, telling that bija praroha jananim dvalanah karoti, that fire that is lit in a field becomes the reason for sprouting of new seeds. So he's saying that this curse is like the fire, but even though it is harsh and it is burning the field, still it is the cause for a new plant to grow. So the reason he's telling this, till now Dasharatha is issueless, he does not have any children, but at least by means of this curse, he's sure that he'll at least have a son. Maybe he'll die because of putra shock or something, but at least he will be fortunate enough to have a son, and he won't be as unfortunate as this Vriddha who did not even see the face of his son. At least he will be able to see that face of the son, and he'll be able to enjoy the son's bliss for at least some time. So in this way, he tells that your curse is also a blessing for me. So now he asks, okay, thank you, like I have done a great mistake, but okay, now tell me what is the order from your side. So the parents will tell that, Vriddha parents will tell that, okay, bring fuel and light a fire and place both of us along with our son on that fire. That is, do the Antyama Samskara for us. So as ordered, by that time the army has come, and he orders his soldiers to get some fuel, and they, all the three people, the two Vriddhas and Shravana Kumara, they are put on the fire and they are set on fire, doing the Antya Samskara. So Kalidasa beautifully uses the word Prathamaparadhaha for Dasharatha. Prathama aparadhaha, the first among Ikshvaku Vamsha who did a grave mistake. Prathama aparadhaha. So this Dasharatha was the first person to have made one big mistake in his life in the entire Ikshvaku dynasty, of course, thinking of killing a Kari. So Karta Karayita Chaiva Prerakashchanumodakaha Chatvarhate Samabhaginaha. So it's not just the doer. Everyone who supported in the attack is also a culprit. Here, his mind is the Karayita. It forced his body, which is the Karta, to do the job of hunting. So because of this, that Dasharatha, whose mind guided him to kill that elephant, made him the main culprit. He was the first culprit, Prathama Aparadhaha. So now, this ends Sarga number 10, 9th Sarga. Navama Sarga has ended here with Dasharatha being given the Shapa by the parents of Shravana Kumara. The 10th Sarga, again, it goes back to Dasharatha's kingdom. So Dasharatha has ruled very well, and he has ruled like Indra for 10,000 years. But again, he's still issueless. At that time, his guru Vasishta tells him that approach Rishyashringa and he will help you. So Rishyashringad Nayanasya Santah Santana Kankshinaha Arebhire Jitatmanaha Putriyamishtam Ritvijaha. So Ritvijas, the sages, under the guidance or under the leadership of Rishyashringa, performed Putriyam, the Putra Kameshti Yajna. For what? Santana Kankshinaha, to fulfill the desire of the king to beget a son. So when this is happening on earth, so here Dasharatha is performing the Putra Kameshti Yaga under the guidance of Rishyashringa. At the other end of the world, Dasharatha, the gods have been tormented by Ravana. So Ravana's atrocities have reached the peak, and Devatas are totally helpless. So what they do is they go and seek refuge at Vishnu's place. Beautifully, a shloka is told, Techa prapuhu udanvantam बुबुधे च आदिपुरुषः अव्याक्षेपो भविष्यन्तः कार्यसिद्धेर्हि लक्षणम्. So te ch prapuh udanvantam. So they reached Udanvan. Udanvanta is the Milky Ocean, Kshirasagara. So once they reached the Kshirasagara where Vishnu was sleeping, Bubudhe, immediately Bubudhe, Vishnu, Adi Purusha is nothing but Vishnu, Adi Purusha Bubudhe. So Vishnu got up from his sleep. So immediately once Devatas went to Kshirasagara, when they entered Kshirasagara, even Vishnu has come out of his Yoga Nidra. And Kalidasa gives a very beautiful sukti here. Avyakshepo bhavishyantah karyasiddheri lakshanam. If two things happen coincidentally without any delay, then that is an indication of success. So when you go to Kumar Sambhava, there Tarakasura's atrocities also had reached a very high level. That time when Devatas came to Brahma, Brahma was still in Yoga Nidra. So they had to do Brahmastava, they had to praise Brahma to get him out. So there was a delay. That is why they had to wait for such a long time for Manmatha to die, then Parvati to do a severe penance, and then accept Shiva. Then Shiva to accept Parvati as her wife. So there was a delay. But here he's mentioning that since there was no delay between Devatas coming to Kshirasagara asking for help and Shiva, Vishnu getting up from his Yoga Nidra. So of course, Vishnu, if he goes into Yoga Nidra, it is never told when he'll come out. But at this time, it is told that both of it happened simultaneously. And Kalidasa tells that if two things happen without any delay or simultaneously, then that is an indication of Karya Siddhi Lakshana. It's a Lakshana. That is an indication of Karya Siddhi, success of that work. So now, Vishnu tells that, he's seated comfortably on, Adishesha. He's wearing the Kaustubhamani and he has the Srivatsa mark on his Lanchana on his chest. He's wearing all the golden ornaments. He has Panchajanya, Sudarshana, Nandaki, Kaumodaki, the Sharanga, everything. And in front of him, Garuda is, sitting, and all the sages, all the Saptarshis have also come and they're praising Vishnu, because whenever Vishnu comes, when Vishnu comes out of Yoga Nidra, it is a joy for the entire universe. So to celebrate that, all this is happening. So sages have come, Saptarshis have come, and they've started praising Vishnu, etc. Now they start Vishnu Stuti. So in Kumara Sambhava, first thing that happened was Brahma Stuti, Brahmastavaha. After that, when Shiva has accepted to marry Parvati, Shiva remembers Saptarshis. So when the Saptarshis come to Kailasa, they do Shiva Stuti. They praise Shiva, and in this case, they do Vishnu Stuti to praise Vishnu. So all these three are compiled in a lesson in your Turiya called Kalidasasya Trimurti Stutihi. So Kalidasasya Trimurti Stutihi is the Stuti, or the worshipping of the three Trimurtis, Brahma, Vishnu, as well as Maheshwara. Of course, here they didn't have to do Stuti, but they have some work to be done. So you should always praise the person who is capable of doing their work. Similar to how Indra, pampered and praised Manmatha. Here also now they are praising Vishnu. And I'll just take two shlokas from here. Sapta Samopagitam Tvam, Saptarnava Jaleshayam, Saptachuti Mukhachuhu, Sapta Lokaika Samshrayam. So you are the person who is sung. So people, all the sages, they worship you by singing Sapta Samopagitam, 7 songs or 7 hymns from Samaveda, and Saptarnava Jaleshayam, and you have encompassed all the 7 oceans. And you are Saptarchishi Mukhachakyuhu. So you are considered to be the embodiment of the 7 Agnis or 7 faces of the Agni, and Sapta Lokaika Samshayam, and you are the protector of the 7 worlds. Further, he tells that Chaturvarga Phalam Jnanam Kalavastha Chaturyugaha Chaturvarnamayo Lokaha Tattva Sarvam Chaturmukhat. So now, previously it was description of 7s, now it's a description of 4s. He's saying that Chaturvarga Phalam. So there are 4 Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So you are the person who gives fruits for all the 4 types of Purusharthas. And Kalavastha Chaturyugaha, and you have lived in all the 4 yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. And Chaturvarnamayo Lokaha. So you have also seen the 4 Vargas, that is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or you can also consider it as the 4 ashramas: Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So you have been, a witness to these 4 Vargas or 4 ashramas, and Sarvam Chaturmukhad, and Brahma, who is born from you, gets all the knowledge from you. Indirectly saying that you are Brahma himself. So these 2 shlokas, I found it interesting because it gave the importance of 7 and 4s. Then Vishnu tells that, yeah, I have understood. So by this time, Vishnu already knows that they're pampering, they're praising him and they're boasting about him. So he tells, okay, I've understood that Ravana is doing all this. So don't worry, I will, make sure that I will do the right things. Now, he tells that when Shiva, he went to, when Ravana went to Shiva, he cut out all the 9 heads, telling that, surrendering it to Shiva. So when he is worshipping Shiva and Shiva does not appear before him, he starts cutting off all the, heads one by one. So he has cut off the 9th one, and before he cuts the 10th one, Shiva appears and gives him, appears before him. So Vishnu tells that probably Shiva did not allow Ravana to cut his 10th head because he wanted me to kill it, or he wanted my Sudarshana Chakra to kill it. So at this point of time, he'll tell that I will take birth, as Dasharatha's son, and I will make sure that Ravana's rule is ended. Then, at that exact point, when Vishnu gives the Ashwasana, he gives the courage that I will help you and I will be born as Dasharatha's son. Here, Putra Kameshchi Yajna's final Purnahuti is being done. At that point of time, Hema Patragatam Dorbhyam Adadhana Payascharum. So at that point of time, when the Purnahuti is done, the Agni Purusha comes out of that homa with Hema Patra. He comes with a golden vessel, and in that, what is there? Payascharum, a sweet made out of milk, which is nothing but payasa. He comes with a bowl containing payasa, and he gives it to Dasharatha. How did Dasharatha receive it? Prajapatyopaneetam tat annam pratyagrahit nrapah vrisheva payasam saram avishkritam udanvata. So similar to how Indra drank or received the Amrita from Sagara, similarly Dasharatha, the king, received the payasam from the Agni Purusha. Satejo Vaishnavam Patnyoho Vibhaje Charu Samgitam Dyava Prithivyo Pratyagram Arhapatirivadapam. So, after receiving that, Kalidasa tells that he divides Bidade, he divides the the payasam into 2 parts. And that how is that payasa? Vaishnavam Tejaha, it has the glow, or it has the power of Vishnu. So that Vishnu's power-filled payasa, he divides it into his 2 queens, that is Kausalya as well as Kaikeyi. And beautifully Kalidasa tells that, similar to how Surya distributes his sunlight equally to Swarga and Bhumi, Dasharatha divided that payasa between his wife Kausalya and Kaikeyi. Now, why did he choose these 2? It is told in the next sloka. Archita tasya Kausalya priya Kaikeya vamshaja atah sambhavitam tabhyam sumitram aichat ishvaraha. So, why did he select Kausalya? Because Kausalya was the eldest queen. Because of that, Archita, she was the foremost queen of Dasharatha. Hence, she got 1 share. And why did he choose Kaikeyi? Priya Kekaya vamshaja. Because Kaikeyi was his beloved queen, he gave the other half to Kaikeyi. But what did they understand? Atah sambhavitam tabhyam. But they understood that Ishvaraha Sumitram api aichat. But they understood that Dasharatha wanted them to share this payasa even with Sumitra. So though he gave just 2 parts, he divided the payasa into 2 parts and gave it to Kausalya and Kaikeyi, they understood the intentions of Dasharatha that he also wanted them to share that payasa with Sumitra. Now, at this point of time, there is again a deviation from Valmiki Ramayana and Kalidasa's Ramayana, or description of this scene. So here what happens is, now there have been 2 parts. 1 part is given to Kausalya, 1 part is given to Kaikeyi. What they do is, they give half of their part to Sumitra. In that way, Kausalya gets 1 part, Kaikeyi gets 1 part, and Sumitra gets 2 parts, 1 from Kausalya and 1 from Kaikeyi. But Valmiki's Ramayana, tells it in a different way. Probably it's confusing, but probably if you understand it, good. So what happens is, first 2 parts are made. 1 complete half of that payasa is given to Kausalya. In the second half, another 2 parts are made. So you have 1 quarter and 1 quarter. So 1 quarter of that half is given to, 1 quarter is given to Sumitra, and the other quarter, again 2 parts are made. 1 part is again given to Sumitra and 1 part is given to Kaikeyi. So again, it's probably confusing, but if you read Ramayana, you'll probably understand. So whatever be the situation, finally understand it. 1 part for Kausalya, 1 part for Kaikeyi, and 2 parts for Sumitra. So now, after this division is done, finally they have consumed the payasa and now they are bearing children. At this point of time, Kalidasa beautifully mentions that Guptam Dadarshuhu Atmanam Sarvaha Swapneshu Vamanaihi Jalaja Asi Gada Sharngha Chakra Lanchita Murthivihi. So once they started bearing these children, all the queens, Kausalya, Sumitra as well as Kaikeyi, they saw the same dream. What was there in the dream? Vamanehi Guptam. They were being protected by a very small kid. But how was this kid? Jalaja, lotus; Asi, a sword; Gada, that is mace; Sharanga, that is the Sharanga bow; Chakra, Sudarshana Chakra; Lanchita Murti Vihi. So that kid was decorated with all the Shanka, Chakra, Gada, Padma. So that kid decorated with all these types of ornaments and the weapons. That kid was protecting these mothers, that is Kausalya, Kaikeyi, and Sumitra. They also saw that Garuda, that is the Vahana of Vishnu, was carrying these children and taking them into the sky. Also, Lakshmi, in the dream, Lakshmi became their daughter-in-law, that is their son's wife, and she started, she came and she started doing chamara service to this kid. So when they saw all these dreams, and all of them had the same dream, and they narrated this to Dasharatha, Dasharatha felt very happy. Why did he feel happy? Mene paradhyam atmanam gurutvena jagadguroho. He felt very gratified. He felt very happy that jagadguroho gurutvena. He felt happy that he became the father. Guru, as I've told you again, can also mean father. So since he was becoming the father of the Jagadguru, he felt very happy. Now, after all this is done, they start giving birth to children. The first son born is Kausalya gives the first birth, and putram tamopaham lebhe naktam jyotirivaushadhi. So she gives birth to a son who is tamopaham, that is the person who removes ignorance, and further he's like a medicine for darkness. So he's the person who will remove the ignorance from the people, and he's like the medicine for darkness. Finally, they have to do the namakarana samskara, and beautifully Kalidasa mentions that Rama ityabhiramena vapusha tasya choditaha namadheyam guruhu chakre jagat prathama mangalam. Rama, they named him Rama. Why did they name him Rama? Guruhu Chakru. So the father and the elders, they named him Rama. Why did they name him Rama? Abhiramena. Vapusha Abhiramena. So Abhirama is charm. So since that boy had a very charming body and it attracted everyone, Ramateti Rama. So one who gives pleasure to others who see him. Just by seeing whom you get pleasure. That is called Rama. So hence, because that boy was charming, Abhirama, he was named Rama. And Jagataha Prathama Mangalam. You should know that the previous avatar of Vishnu itself is Parashurama. So the name is Rama, but since he wielded the axe, he's called Parashurama. So here Kalidasa is indicating that he's not the first Rama, but he's the first Prathama Mangalam. He's one of the first auspicious beings. So this Rama, that is Dasharatha's son Rama, is considered to be the first Prathama Mangala, first auspicious thing. Now, after this is done, Kaikeyi gives birth to the second child. Kaikeya stanayo jagne bharato nama shilavan janayitrim alang chakre saha prashaya iva shriyam. So, when explaining Rama, they spoke about the charm that he had, Abhirama. But when explaining the birth of Bharata, Kalidasa beautifully uses Shilavan. Kaikeyi gave birth to a virtuous child called Bharata, and he decorated Alang Chakre Matuhu. He decorated his mother similar to how modesty decorates prosperity. Vidya dadati vinayam vinayatyachi patratam. So patratam, that is prosperity, how it is decorated by modesty, vinaya. Similarly, this Bharata decorated his mother. After this, Sumitra gave birth to two children. Sutau Lakshmana Shatrughnau Sumitra Sushuve Yamau Samyagaradhita Vidya Prabodha Vinayau Iva. Sutau, so she gave birth to two children. Yamau, they're twins. So Yamada or Yama, they mean twins. So she gave birth to two twins, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. And how were they? Samyak Aradhita Vidya Prabodha Vinayau Iva. Similar to how well-learned education, Samyak Arad, not just any education that is very well-learned, how it generates Prabodha, knowledge, and Vinaya, humility. Similar to how a well-learned knowledge gives birth to knowledge as well as prosperity. Sumitra gave birth to these two twins, Lakshmana and Shatrughna. Now, Dashakanthanana Kiritebhyaha Tatkshanam Rajasa Shriyaha Manivyajena Paryastaha Prithivyam Ashrubindavaha. At this exact moment when all the four children have been born, exactly at that point of time, what happens is Dashanana Kiritebhyaha, from the Kirita or the crown of Dasharatha, money. So, you have the crown jewels. So, you have several crown jewels. So, all those jewels fall from his kirita and fall on the ground. And Kalidasa beautifully compares this, that so this is not the jewels that are falling, Ashrubindavaha, these are the tears that Rakshasa Shrihi. So Rajashri is the prosperity of the king, whereas Rakshasa Shri is the prosperity of the Rakshasas. So seeing the birth of these four sons who will be the cause of destruction of Ravana, Rakshasa Shri, the prosperity of Rakshasas, started shedding tears which fell on the ground like the crown jewels of Ravana's Kirita. Now all the four children have started growing, they have started playing along with each other, and this point of time, Kalidasa mentions that Samanepi cha Saubhratre Yathebhau Rama Lakshmanau Tatha Bharata Shatrughnau Pritya Dvandvam Babhuvatuhu. So even though these four kids, they grew together, they played together, and they equally respected and enjoyed the company of each other, still two pairs were created. Rama Lakshmana, one pair was Rama and Lakshmana, second one was Bharata Shatrugna. So all those four kids, even though they were always together, still more or less two dvandvas, that is two pairs were created. One was Rama Lakshmana and one was Bharata Shatrugna. So actually I came across a very nice justification. It may not be the actual reason, but still I came across a very good justification for why Rama Lakshmana became one pair and Bharata Shatrugna became one pair. So since one part of Payasa that Sumitra ate came from Kaikeyi, the son born from that part, Lakshmana, became closer to Kaikeyi's son, Kausalya's son Rama, whereas the part that came from Kaikeyi is where, by which Shatrugna was born, and that is why Shatrugna became closer to Bharata. So it's a very nice explanation, may not be the actual fact, but I like the explanation, so I just presented in front of you. So now all the four sons are born, they're growing up, and these two pairs are created. And how are these pairs? These pairs are like fire and wind. So how fire and wind cannot exist without each other, or how moon and ocean are attracted towards each other, these two pairs, Rama Lakshmana, Bharata Shatrugna, were inseparable. And now with four sons, Dasharatha has become even more great. How is this greatness? This Kalidasa tells that Suragaja iva dantaihi bhagna dantei asidharaihi Naya iva panabandha vyakta yogaihi upayaihi haririva yuga dirghaihi dorbihi ashmi dhityaihi patirava nipatinam taihi chakashe chaturbhihi. So he's telling that how is Dasharatha with his four sons? He's like Suragaja, that is Airavata. Airavata is told to have four tusks. So Dasharatha is that Airavata whose four tusks are these four sons. And how is this Suragaja? Daitya Asidharehi, which is the destroyer of Rakshasas. Further, you have Nyaya, that is Niti, has four parts. Sama, Dana, Bheda, Danda. So Dasharatha seemed like that Niti, whose four parts, Sama, Dana, Bheda, Danda, had taken the form of Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrugna. Further, he appeared like Vishnu himself, who had four arms in the form of four sons. In this way, Dasharatha's story has been explained. So with this, we'll conclude today's class. Hope we can complete it in 2 classes, and hope you'll enjoy the complete story, because from here the actual Ramayana that we know has been told by Kalidasa. But of course, Kalidasa's greatness has been told that what Valmiki took 24,000 shlokas to tell, Kalidasa has told the entire story in probably around 150 to 200 shlokas. And he has not let go of any important detail, but of course he has not used the same story that Valmiki has used. He has changed it, but he has made it more beautiful. So hopefully you'll enjoy this Raghuvamsham for 2 more classes, and then we can complete Sukti Ratnani with that. So any doubts in today's class? Gurureva gatihi gurumeva bhaje gurunaiva sahatvi namo gurave na guroh paramam shishurasmi guror matirasmi guru mama pahi guru. Ram Ram Ram.